All right, 49ers update moves to the road. Ballpark edition, Washington, D.C., Memorial Day weekend. Who's going to win the president's race?
Oh, Teddy Roosevelt for sure.
We saw Teddy earlier. He's going to win the president's race. Take a look at him.
So we can make this an NFC West prediction. Teddy Roosevelt, that's the Rams out of the gate first. He's the early favorite. Then Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln. We'll say it's the Seahawks and the Cardinals. 49ers nowhere in sight until that's the 49ers. George Washington on Memorial Day with the flag. The offseason didn't start well for the 49ers, but it ended a lot better, and they're going to be sprinting through to the finish line. Yes, the 49ers will win the NFC West. There's George Washington waving the American flag. He won today at Nationals Park, just like the Giants. It was a fun game. It got a little stressful. We say Giants baseball torture. That was coined back in 2010. 49ers football torture, I think that was coined in 2021. We might have a little bit of that here in 2025. Just because the 49ers are not a complete team by any stretch of the imagination. You normally don't have a complete team in the NFL. That's what makes it so interesting, and that's just a byproduct of the salary cap, is that you're going to have holes out on the field. I think one of the 49ers holes this year will be just the maturation process that they need to go through over the course of the season with all these new players on the defensive side of the ball. You look at the Rams. The reason that some are favoring the Rams is because they drafted this massive class in 2024, big class in 2023. They've had some time now, 2 seasons, to really evolve as a roster into a position where, in many ways, the bulk of that roster has the grizzled veteran edge over the rest of the NFC West. I know that the 49ers at the top, they've got the A-listers, they've got the experience, but a lot of the draft picks from 2024 and 2025 still have to develop a little bit of metal. But I think that the Rams formula does show us a lot in that you can develop the necessary metal by the end of the season. So I think that the 49ers over the course of this season are going to have to use it as improvement ground. The 49ers have the easiest schedule in the NFC West, and that is very, very significant. Last year, the margins in this division were tiny. The Rams won the division at 10-7, but with a negative point differential. They actually had a worse point differential than Arizona and the Seattle Seahawks. So it was just by the very skin of their teeth that the Rams were able to get it done in 2024. And I don't think that when you look at that margin, it can't overwhelm anybody. There can't be a feeling of, oh boy, this team won last year. They are the odds-on favorite to repeat, to get it done again. This is in any horse race, and then we have to look to see at the improvements and the regressions that the teams might have made over the course of 2024 to 2025, and that's where I go back to my thesis regarding the 49ers. It's impossible for them to have gotten worse, because the defense was already bottom barrel to end last season. That's why they renovated in the first place. That's why they said, we can't run it back with this particular group of players, especially in the front seven where they had so many of those injury issues. And I think that offensively, it's funny because everything went wrong for the 49ers last year from an injury perspective. We talk about the separation perspective that's tied into the run game issues, and obviously everything is rooted in the absence of Christian McCaffrey. One could very easily argue that everything went wrong for the 49ers offense. It can't get much worse as far as setup goes, yet they were still a top 10 offense. And a lot of that's because of Brock Purdy, and that's why they went out and paid Brock Purdy just about a week ago, because the floor that you have with Brock Purdy at your quarterback is really, really high. I like to look at quarterbacks, right? Just like we look at presidents in the president's race at the Nationals game, I like to look at the QBs of each team. That's the headliner. And if you're going to handicap the race, then you look at the headliner. Which quarterback is leading each of these teams? The 49ers have the best in Purdy in the entire NFC West. That shouldn't even be up for debate. Matthew Stafford has not been playing his best football ever since that 2021 Super Bowl season. He has passed his prime. Purdy's now making more than Matthew Stafford because he's the better quarterback now with the brighter future now at age 25. Meanwhile, Purdy's former backup, somebody who never really even had a legitimate chance to beat out Purdy just because there was such a big gap. He's the starter for the Seahawks in Sam Darnold. And then there's Kyler Murray, and people are going to have different thoughts about Murray. He's obviously a very mobile quarterback, but his ceiling has, I think, been limited over his time with Arizona just because he hasn't played as well from the pocket and hasn't delivered the kind of consistency that we've seen from QBs at the top of the division. Somebody was saying the other day that Sam Darnold had all these weapons in Minnesota, and he's not going to have the same weapons in Seattle, so we can't expect as good of a season from him. I would say, Sam Darnold has impressed me in so many ways, and he resuscitated his career with Purdy and Brian Griese in San Francisco. He was still number 14 QBR last year. So just let that sink in. Darnold's very best season, where his team goes 14-3, number 14 in QBR. Purdy's very best season, number 1 in QBR, and his worst one last year was number 7. Still the best in the entire NFC West. So the 49ers have the strongest quarterback in this division. That gives them the immediate edge over the other teams, and then it's just a matter of how much can they improve their defense. And their special teams. How much can the other two phases of the game help out? And this division was not a world-beating division by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't think the 49ers need all that much help. When you look at year-over-year improvement, you've got to make it work quick if you're a rookie class in the NFL. And I think that the 2024 49ers rookie class was a great example of, okay, these guys splashed onto the scene. They've got contributors. We already know through the first 4 or 5 rounds, a lot of contributors in that class. So 2025 should be expected to contribute sooner rather than later for San Francisco. For the Rams, the stat that I like to cite is that they were the number 29 defense in football over the first 3 months of last season. With all those rookie draft picks, they had 3 rookie starters, but then they turned into the number 5 defense in football over the last 2 months of the season, including the playoffs. So it happened at the snap of a finger, the maturation of that defense, and they spent the least money out of any team on their defense last year, the Rams did. So I would say that the 49ers can expect a quick maturation in 2025, and you're going to need a quick maturation if you're going to win this division. You notice they drafted ready-made players for different positions, right? You think of CJ West as a one technique. Now, it might be some development needed there, but you see exactly where that skill set, that low center of gravity is going to fit. Mikel Williams, edge opposite Nick Bosa. That's exactly where they need him to fit. Somebody like Nick Martin, weak side or strong side linebacker, and just somebody to complement Fred Warner. That's exactly where he's going to fit. Alfred Collins, taller defensive tackle. He can work next to CJ West, and you just look at the totality of this football team and the totality of this defensive line. He can work within the Chris Kasarik system, which demands different specific skill sets from different linemen working in that wide 9. They already added some pieces like Malik Mustafa last year. He's going to be coming off of the ACL tear, and obviously the 2 cornerbacks, so you could see the coverage already ahead of the rush for the 49ers. But I do think that even though it seemed that they might have started a little bit behind over the course of this 2025 offseason, the 49ers are more than primed to come back, overtake the lead, and win the NFC West in 2025.